Director Bryan Singer returns to the franchise that he helped start in a chance to hopefully reset things and make them better for the fans of the franchise, as well as comic book fans all around the world. And he returns with X-Men Days of Future Past, and that's the film we're looking at on this episode of The Real Deal. Welcome back to The Man Attic. I'm Kevin Polly.
And I'm Brian Hatcher.
And Hatcher, we have both each just seen this film. This was definitely one of the most anticipated films of the summer, one of the most anticipated of the year. Returned to the franchise from its originator with Bryan Singer, and then of course really one of the biggest stories in Marvel's comic book history, brought to the big screen with Days of Future Past. Your thoughts coming out the gate on this one? Because this was a big one.
Yeah, certainly. Because I mean, the X-Men series certainly had a great deal of baggage attached to it.
Yes, it did.
With a couple of movies in the franchise that were not that critically liked. The fans certainly did not like them. And, I mean, to a level of Star Wars prequel hate.
Yeah, there's definitely that kind of level.
Plus, now you have two casts, and you have in a sense, kind of a reboot with X-Men First Class. But basically, to tie all that together, to kind of smooth out the rough edges of those two films, to basically be able to include them in the universe, but kind of soften the blow a little bit, and to basically open up a future for this franchise. And I feel like this movie managed to do that.
Yes,
and,
yes it did.
And I will say that with this is the third movie in a row that I've seen that has clocked in at over 2 hours long, and thank goodness the pacing on this one was a little bit better than the other two.
Yeah.
So fortunately, I wasn't feeling that time like I was in some other movies.
Sure. Now, this film definitely, we're going to get into spoiler territory here, so this is definitely one of those films you really can't talk about without getting into it. And to be honest, it's a great film. If you just want to know what our thoughts were, I really liked it. Hatcher, I know you really enjoyed it. Definitely highly recommended from us. I didn't think it was perfect, and I didn't love it as much as I wanted to, but that doesn't mean it's a bad film. But we're going to get into spoiler territory now. Now, if you've not seen the film, I urge you, stop, go see it, and then come back and join us for the discussion. If you don't, then that's your fault. Don't put comments about how we spoiled it for you, because we're telling you.
We warned you.
We warned you.
Yeah.
Okay? So this film, definitely, like I said, I really enjoyed it. I think what it was is I came out of the theater and I called you, and I was like, why don't I love this film like I should? Like I want to? Why don't I love it like I loved X2 and X-Men First Class, and even the first X-Men? And I talked to a friend of mine, my friend Tony, and our buddy, the No Pants Players, and I think in talking to him, I figured out why I don't love it. This film has the yeoman's job of hitting the reset button, and that means it has to clean the slate of X-Men 3, which screwed up so many things, including the death of Cyclops and, of course, the faux Phoenix of Jean Grey. And then you have X-Men Origins Wolverine, which screwed up everything. Hugh Jackman, God bless him, he tried in that film.
Yeah.
He sure did. And Liev Schreiber as Sabretooth even, they tried. But that film was atrocious. It was absolutely atrocious. It was just garbage. And with this film, you erase that. You get rid of it. And in the end, like you said, you've got a franchise that now has its Cyclops back, that now has its Jean Grey back. And it doesn't have all the craziness that's already happened, so we could potentially have a good Deadpool down the road. But it definitely is a film that, because it has that job to do, because it almost feels like that's its main job, that it sacrifices some of the character development and some of the story development that I wanted it to have. Part of it too, and this is always the risk you run with a time travel film, the stuff in the future, which I thought was fascinating, and I could have spent way more time there. I really loved the team that was still left making this happen. The thing is, you've got things happening in the future, and again, we're getting into spoilers. The death of Colossus, Iceman. You see them die. Kitty Pryde is basically dying before our eyes. We see them die. We see Magneto get a mortal wound and die. These are key characters, and they're gone. But we know by the time this film wraps up, because this is one film and it's all in one little package, none of that matters. So all the suspense and the emotion is basically drained from it, because we know there's no repercussion when it's all said and done.
That's true.
And that's the biggest issue I think I have with the film. I would put it right below X2, which I think is the best of the bunch, X-Men First Class, which is just a notch below X2. I would put this a notch below First Class. I think it's a great film, and I think upon viewing it again, I might like it better. But it didn't hit me the way that X2 and X-Men First Class did right out the gate.
Yeah, and time travel is always going to be tricky in a movie, especially when, like you say, if you know you can go back and change everything, then it does kind of take the edge off of any kind of consequences. So, in a sense, it really, it's not a matter of are they going to get out of it. It's how are they going to get out of it.
Right.
So, certainly you have that issue. And the other thing too is, from this point on, I'm not sure. Are they going to be concentrating on the First Class cast? Are they going to be, are we going to be seeing any of the original X-Men cast in these films again?
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
So there may be the situation where they're trying to place a coda on the original X-Men crew.
And it definitely has that feeling. I mean, when it ends, it's a good place to end. And it does feel like you could, like I said, the reset button's been hit. You could make a whole new franchise now with the younger cast.
Right. And
kind of show the adventures that lead up to that end that we saw. That there is some mention at the end in Professor X's monologue about how the future is kind of always in motion. That there are ripples along the way. Things could still happen. And of course, at the end, we know that Mystique is still out there. And she has Wolverine at her disposal now.
Yeah.
We thought Weapon X was taken care of. Maybe not so much now. I don't know. That could still find its way into the play. For me, it definitely does a great job of taking out the bad taste of X3 and X-Men Origins. It really does. It is paced well. It's beautifully acted. The costumes are fantastic. The settings are fantastic. The action scenes are amazing. I mean, really, the stuff in the future, especially the stuff with Blink. What a great character, and wow, did they make her just the most awesome character on the floor. Seeing Bishop fighting alongside of Storm and the future with Magneto and Charles together. Really great stuff. Stuff that you remember from the comics and stuff it's nice to see that come to life. And of course the Sentinels, which in the future are amazingly cool.
Oh yeah, and I'll tell you, if there was one character I was a little worried about, it was going to be Quicksilver. I was like,
man, he steals the film.
I'm telling you.
He steals the film. Every frame he is in is outstanding.
If you would have told me, oh man, Quicksilver is just going to be like, he's going to be the man in this film, I would have been like, I don't see it, but man, was he just so cool in this film.
I think that's one of the things that kind of bothered me too, is he lives near DC, right? So they get him involved with the stuff at the Pentagon, which is a fantastic. It's worth the price of admission. I will say, the sequence in the Pentagon is almost as cool as Nightcrawler's attack in X2. It's that kind of cool, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, they go back to Washington, D.C. Why not call Quicksilver in? That dude might be kind of handy in a fight. Oh, yeah. Like he was when he sprung Magneto out of friggin' the Pentagon. I mean, so it's like, that's one of those things that kind of irks me. I'm like, you've got this great character, and he's maybe in the film for what feels like 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
But those are awesome 10 minutes. I mean, my God, they're fantastic when he's in it. But I'm like, man, why couldn't they have brought him to the fold in the end? I mean, he does become a member of the team. We know that. So why not? It would have been really cool to see him in that finale.
Well, it would have been. Although, to be honest, if he'd have been in the final fight, it would have been a lot shorter fight.
That's true. Yeah, he does kind of take care of a lot of things. And I'll tell you, the way that they chose to visually show him move was just so cool.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it really was like, I look forward to seeing how they'll do it in Avengers 2, because they've really set the bar with this in X-Men, like, of how Quicksilver should look.
Oh, yeah.
He's fantastic. And, in general, I was going to say, looking at the cast, this is a fantastic cast from top to bottom. There is not one bad note in the film. It's nice to see the return of characters, character actors, the original folks who played Iceman, seeing even Anna Paquin having a little cameo as Rogue. Mm-hmm. It was nice to see Ellen Page come back as Kitty Pryde, because she's only in X3, but it was nice to see her come back and be a part of it. Seeing, of course, Halle Berry back as Storm, of course, Stewart and McKellen as Xavier and Magneto. You almost can't have the film without them.
Yeah.
But then also everybody who was so great in First Class, seeing James McAvoy as Charles is just fantastic, and to see a Charles Xavier who is defeated, who is disillusioned, who doesn't want to go down the path that he's destined to be, is very sad, and it's nice to see him, overcome that. He has a very neat character arc. Then, of course, you have the amazing Michael Fassbender's Eric Lehnsherr, and in this film, I felt he was a little cheated, though, because in First Class, he delivers some of my favorite moments ever in a comic book film. Mm-hmm. And in this film, it's almost like they kind of push him to mustache twirling villain. Like, it just, I didn't understand the motivation to put him where they put him at the end of the film. I mean, it's like I kind of see it, but by the same token, I just felt like it was so abrupt that he was with Charles, he's with the idea of what has to happen, and then suddenly, look at us, we're the most powerful, and everybody has to worship us now. And I'm like, well, where's this coming from? Because you were kind of like understanding that we can't do this to save the future. And that, to me, was something I really had an issue with.
Yeah.
And it's nothing against Fassbender. He does an amazing job, again, with what he's given. But I just wanted to see, I guess, more of Magneto, the shades of Magneto, than just taking him to the I'm a bad guy level again.
Yeah, because I have a feeling that they may be, if they do continue the franchise along with, with the First Class cast, that they may have felt like they've kind of have to tarnish that character a little bit to justify keeping him as a villain later on.
Sure.
Could they have done that a little less ham-handedly? Yeah, I think I think so.
I think by the time he's turning the cameras on everybody, I'm like, really? Like, what?
Yeah.
This is a little bit too much at this point.
I have to agree with
and
that.
Fassbender sells it, don't get me wrong, but I'm just like, why is this happening? Now, with all the characters added to this movie, the one who I was definitely most anticipating, and definitely delivers in every scene that he's in, was Peter Dinklage as Bolivar Trask, the creator of the Sentinel program. He's so great. Dinklage, everybody who knows Game of Thrones knows he is the man. Right. And he is one of those performers, Academy Award nominated performer. He's just one of those guys that is just, he commands the screen every second that he's on.
Yeah.
Whether it's a comedy or drama or comic book film, he commands the scenes. And I think he was one of the people I was most anticipating in this film, really and truly, because I knew he would bring such great gravitas to the character. But what bothered me was, in all the things that they pay attention to in this film, he was the one who I wanted to spend more time with. I wanted to know what his motivations truly were. I mean, you kind of get that, how many boys could we have saved in Vietnam if we'd have had, a program like this, and blah, blah, blah. And you kind of get like a little hint as to why he's doing it. But there has to be something more to it. There has to be something more. This man dissected mutants. I mean, we find out the fates of certain characters from X-Men First Class in this film.
Yeah.
He dissected them. I mean, he broke them down physically and genetically to develop this program to track down and destroy mutants. There has to be a reason for that other than just, it's the right thing to do, I'm a patriot.
Yeah.
That just doesn't feel right to me. And I wanted to know more about that.
Yeah, well, I kind of got the feeling when I was watching it that he was playing on the paranoia of people and mutants. He does deliver that line. I don't hate mutants, I admire them.
Right.
And I kind of had that feeling that there was this desire that the Sentinel program was a means to an end, which was basically to understand mutants and possibly, take that power for himself. Mm-hmm. I think that by casting a little person in the role of Trask, that the filmmakers were hoping to basically, to have that sort of that feeling. Okay, here's somebody who's been probably picked on as a kid. It's
much like mutants.
Yeah, and somebody who may literally have a Napoleon complex. I think the problem is when you cast somebody like a Peter Dinklage in that role. I can't tell you how many times I forget. He's a. You forget his height. You don't look at him. He's a little person. I mean, because his personality and his acting ability fills a room. I mean,
he does.
He acts like a 10-foot tall guy.
He does.
And you just really kind of forget that.
He commands every scene that he's in. I would have loved to spend more time with him.
Yeah.
And maybe there's a director's cut out there where we can't.
The other thing too is that if you know the history of Trask in the comics, he does have that moment where he turns on the Sentinels and redeems himself and becomes a hero. Maybe that's for another movie.
Maybe. Who's to say? I would love to see him in some way, shape, or form continue to be in that universe. One person I do need to mention, Jennifer Lawrence. Lawrence is fine in the role. She's a great actress, and if ever there was a woman who should wear 70s clothing, it's Jennifer Lawrence. After this and American Hustle, she's proven she can definitely wear it and make it look good.
Yeah.
She does a great job with the role. And the thing is, though, Mystique is one of the issues I have with the film. In that, in the original 3 films, Mystique was always a background character. She was there, but not really a major player. Now, part of that's because you have a model in Rebecca Stamos playing her, but she did a very good job playing her. And now you've got an Academy Award-winning actress playing her. There's a very different level of how you commit to that when you're a screenwriter and as a director, you play things out differently. But my problem with that is Mystique was never a character I was ever that interested in the comics and in the film. And so to make her the sort of linchpin of everything in this film, that's where the film kind of lacks for me. And it's no disrespect to Jennifer Lawrence. She does everything she's supposed to do, and she does it very well. But that character just doesn't hold enough interest for me to hedge the entire film on. Yeah. And that really is one of my ultimate issues with the film. But she does good work, and nobody will deny that. She really kicks a lot of ass in this film. She's a great, she's a great female hero, or villain, however you want to look at her. But definitely a strong female character. In a franchise that has had many. But that's another issue I had, is that we didn't get a chance to see the other females necessarily step up as much as we see of Mystique. But this is a film, again, the cast is outstanding. Hugh Jackman continues to bring it as Wolverine. He's packed on even more. He's in better shape now than he was in 2000 when the first film came out. And he definitely, it's neat to see the teacher side of Wolverine, the patient side of Wolverine, because it is his older self back in his younger form. And he's seen so many losses and seen how this is going to play out.
And the thing about it is, he's not going to be able to solve this problem with his claws this time.
Not this time.
This is something completely different. He's going to have to. He's going to have to do it in a different way.
And it's interesting to see. It's great to see it. Hugh Jackman is such a great actor. He really is. In every facet of the word, he's a great actor. And to be able to see him be able to take Wolverine in some different, different emotional levels than we normally see now. We got to see some of that in the Wolverine, which I thought was a very solid film. I really did. And again, it hinges on Jackman and it works. Unlike X-Men Origins, which he just couldn't overcome, the Wolverine definitely played to his strengths and was a good movie. This plays to them even more. And it may be his best performance in an X-Men film yet, honestly. I think you could easily say that. Again, the other two heroes of this film have to be Bryan Singer, who comes back to the franchise that he started. X3 should have been his film, but he went on to do Superman Returns, and Fox got mad, so they moved forward, and they bring in Brett Ratner, who just was not the right person for that film, and you get the abomination that is X3. I really can't stand the film, and I've not watched it again since I saw it in theaters. I hated it that much. It's amazing you could take that cast and make a film that bad. So that really bothered me a lot. So it's nice to see that slate wiped clean. And then, of course, Singer brings a really good energy to the film. The action sequences. I feel like Bryan Singer feels more assured of himself. The action sequences, he paces them very well. You can always see what's going on, even though there's a lot going on. Especially those future scenes with Blink. Man, how they had to keep up with her and the teleportation things. It's like playing the video game Portal. She's got blue circles and orange circles, and everything's going every which way. And they do such amazing work with that. And then, of course, just the stuff in the 1970s. Singer shoots it beautifully. It feels like a film in the 1970s. The costume stuff are great. Everybody's just really great in those roles. And the other unsung hero is Simon Kinberg, who wrote the screenplay. What a screenplay. When you realize all the mistakes they had to make up for, with X3 and Wolverine Origins, to wipe that slate clean and still, but somehow make it all cohesive. That's huge. A lot of people coming out of the gates were talking about, well, if the Sentinels are in this film, how come they're never talked about in X-Men? How come we don't see them in X-Men 1 and 2 and just in the Danger Room sequence in X-Men 3? Well, at the end of the film, we find out that the program gets canceled, so of course they're not going to be around. Smart thinking. Again, they really put a lot of thought into this, and you can tell that, that guy, whatever they paid him, he probably should make double, because that screenplay really cooks.
And what else it does is it does kind of clean the slate. So
it truly does.
So basically, however they want to continue on with the series, you're not even really that tied into what happened in X-Men and X-Men 2 if you don't want to be. You can take the franchise wherever you need to take it. You're basically getting a Star Trek reboot.
Yeah, you are. That's a very good analogy for this. My hope is now we'll finally get a Phoenix saga that we deserve. That would be my hope, is that we finally get to see the Phoenix the way she should have been done, which is with lots of flames and awesomeness and not looking like a goth chick from Hot Topic. One of my ultimate problems with X3 was that. The other thing about this film, the visual effects, and you really have to talk about that, because overall they're very solid. Now, I don't think it's going to win an Academy Award or anything, because there are some that are spotty. But man, like the Sentinels themselves are really amazing to look at. The future Sentinels in particular, where they have the Mystique, gene kind of thing, where they can change, their entire physicality to match what they're fighting and stuff. Those sequences are amazing. The visual effects there, they definitely you get your money's worth out of this future scenes just alone from that.
Oh yeah, you definitely have that Terminator feel to the future scenes. I mean,
Yes.
it's
The future in that film really is. It's heartbreaking. It's a very scary place, and it's fascinating. I mean, I don't want to live there, but boy, I really could have spent some more time there.
Yeah.
Because it is such a fascinating future.
Mhm.
You know, the idea of humans and mutants being rounded up.
Yeah.
And put into these like concentration camps, basically, and then there's those on the fringe who are being attacked and destroyed. They're
Yeah.
not being captured; they're killed. You know,
Yeah.
there's no bring them back alive. No, it's take them out now. So this is a film that, I mean, there's a lot going on. The thing I will say again, I attribute this to Singer, and I attribute it even more so to the screenwriter. You're never confused as to what's going on. You're always aware of where you're at.
Mhm.
You're always aware of what's going on, and you see how things are playing out. I mean, you can see how it's building up to its end game, and how it does work out in the end.
Oh, I certainly feel that way, and yeah, certainly the pacing for a movie that long was where it needed to be.
Yeah, it does not feel long. I will definitely say that. I mean, I have issues with the film, and I think that they are issues that, upon watching it again, might resolve themselves. I mean, the mystique thing is always going to be there, but I think in general, when I go into it again, I think I'll be able to take a different look at it and enjoy it more. As we're bringing this review to a close, I will say for the parents watching at home, if your kids have seen the other X-Men films and didn't have any problems with it, they'll pretty much be okay with this movie. It is a darker film. I mean, the future stuff is very heartbreaking, and there's some pretty intense stuff going on in those fights, but overall a rather bloodless affair. Now, there are characters getting ripped in half and impaled, but again, it is bloodless, and if they've seen the other films, there's really nothing that they haven't seen here.
And I would also add, this is a movie you don't need to see in 3D.
Yeah, I saw it in 2D, and it was fine.
Yeah, and I saw it in 3D, and I don't think that it really added that much to the story. So save your money and save the glasses and go see it in 2D.
So as we're wrapping up again, both of us really enjoyed the film, and we both would recommend it. I think I'll like it even more upon future viewings. But for those of you at home, what did you think of X-Men Days of Future Past? Did it live up to all the hype for you? Was it everything you wanted it to be and more? Or were you, like me, maybe feeling like there was just something a little bit missing, or did you just hate it in general? And I'm sure there'll be those who did. But let us know in the comments below. Of course, you were always part of the conversation. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Google+, and those links will be in the description below. But again, let us know what you thought of the X-Men, the newest entry in the X-Men film, and also let us know what your favorite X-Men film is. Is it Days of Future Past, or is it like me? Is it still X2? Does that still kind of hold the spot? But, again, as always, we appreciate you joining us here in the Man Attic. We'll be coming at you very soon with a review on Edge of Tomorrow, as well as other stuff throughout the summer. So again, thanks for joining us here in the Man Attic. Until next time, I'm Kevin Polly.
And I'm Brian Hatcher.
And this has been The Real Deal. Thanks for joining us.